Hey everybody, welcome in the Red Zone. Sean Brown, Michael Johnson here, and today we are picking the big bowl games and the college football semifinals for the playoffs. So It's that time of year. We're a week away, a little less than a week away at this point.
Well, some of the games have already started. We're obviously not going to have Coastal and Liberty as that game's already been played.
Wow, what a game though!
Crazy
Of all
finish.
the bowl games so far, that one was the crazy one. And Liberty trying not to score, and
that was insane. They were trying to give that game away.
They were, absolutely. And it's funny because we didn't pick that, but earlier in the year during the regular season, when they came up, I picked Liberty. I was like, this is it. This is Coastal Carolina's loss. And Liberty's only loss was 1 point loss to NC State. Yeah. So, it was a great season for Liberty.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. If you watched it, it doesn't end any crazier than that.
Yeah.
Man.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Crazy.
Let's just get into our picks. I think it's like 16 games we're picking with all the the bowl games, and of course after this we'll be back next week to pick or maybe 2 weeks the national championship game. We'll do that one a little more in depth. But let's get started with the first one. It's the Cheeze-It Bowl. Oklahoma State is a 2-point favorite against Miami. What do you think?
Well, Miami was just embarrassed by North Carolina in their regular season finale. And I doubt they've forgotten that. De'Aaron King has decided he's going to come back next year, so that's got to be a boost to their program. And, Chuba Hubbard has decided he's going to start getting ready for the draft. Well, did he already do that and miss some games?
I forget when it was after they were basically out of the Big 12 championship.
So he's out, but Tylan Wallace is going to come play. So it just, I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I think it looks to be a shootout. I don't know. I want to take Miami in the upset. I think that's what I'm going to take.
Well, that's how I'm going. Yeah. I think Miami outright wins the game. So the fact the Cowboys are a 2-point favorite, I'll take Miami.
Yeah. I think Miami wins it outright. So got to take them.
Yep. Next one is Alamo Bowl, Texas, a 9.5-point favorite against Colorado. Colorado, the Pac-12 team that just you can't even really gauge the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah.
It's just you don't even know what you got there.
Yeah. Colorado was doing real well for a good part of their season, and then they just
I'm not a big fan of Texas, you know that, but the reality is I think they win by 10. I think it could be right on the money with the spread.
Well, here's the thing. So this is why this is kind of an iffy spot, an iffy game to be picking, because the Longhorns this season were 0-3 against the spread as double-digit favorites. But every year they seem to perform really well in their bowl game.
Yeah. They beat Georgia.
Whether it be the Alamo Bowl, the Texas Bowl, or some, they get into a bowl and they perform really well, and then they get a shot of adrenaline to their program and then just fall flat on their face in Big 12 play.
They win a bowl game, they're back, and then the first game the next year, it's like, oh, wait, then maybe So that's kind of how it goes.
So it's just enough to get Tom Herman some more, the fan base back on his side. Yeah. They just won this big game. I don't know that Colorado is going to be, it's definitely not Georgia where Georgia was that year.
Yeah. Texas wants to win.
And it's not Utah from last year. So
and Ellinger's going to come back again for another year. So
is he?
That's what last I had heard was he was coming back. Maybe
he has a chance then to destroy any kind of passing record at that school being there 5 years.
That was the last I heard, unless something's changed. I heard that he was coming back. So so it's a meaningful game for him too because it sets up next year. So I've got Texas covering 9.5.
Yeah, I do too. The only thing that gives me pause is just being 0-3 against the spread as a 10-point favorite.
But they're not. They're 9.5.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's not double digits.
That's true.
So
don't creep up there anymore. So I'll take Texas here. I think they win another bowl game and they have some more ammo to talk trash to OU because at least they win their bowl games. But getting the playoffs first.
All right. Next one, Florida. Florida and Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. Florida is a 3-point favorite. I'll start out. You can go more in depth, but the reality is I think OU wins the game. So they're the underdog. Give me OU.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a type of game that you don't really look at where the teams have covered, where they haven't covered, especially because Florida has now their top 4 leading receivers are all opting out, or their 4th leading receiver has been positive for COVID.
Yeah.
So obviously I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, in that passing game, Kyle Trask is the kind of quarterback that can make a wide receiver better, but at this point, what do they have? They don't really have a rushing game this year that just stands, pops off the screen. And then their defense is suspect. So I think this could be a shootout.
That's what I'm expecting.
Because Trey Brown for Oklahoma has announced that he's going to start getting ready for the draft. And all accounts are that's really the only player that has said, I'm going to get ready for the draft.
Yeah.
See ya. Which a game like this, going against a high-powered passing team, a cornerback, I kind of understand because that's the type of game that can lose you money.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the draft. An offensive lineman, defensive lineman, probably not so much, but when you have the ability to be just picked on all game, I think that's kind of smart by him to opt out. But anyway, I'll take Oklahoma. I just think that there's too much. Over 50% of their offensive production total is just gone. I mean, either getting ready for the draft or in COVID protocol. So give me Oklahoma to win that game outright.
Okay. Next one, Wake Forest is against Wisconsin. This one is the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and Wisconsin is a 7-point favorite. Wisconsin's disappointed as the year went along. Jack Cohn has now transferred because Graham Mertz won the job basically at quarterback. But Wake Forest, I think they're sitting at 4-4 overall. I'm not real impressed with Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Wisconsin still has talent, even if they haven't performed up to their level in the last couple games. They still have talent. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I wish it was 6.5, but it's 7. I will still take Wisconsin to cover 7.
Yeah. Wake Forest hasn't won since Halloween. And both teams have kind of had start-stop seasons. They had to, and in Wisconsin, use that as an excuse as you want. But they had a 3-game losing streak, Wisconsin that being where they failed to score 7 points per game. And then they ended in a 20-17 win over Minnesota. So I don't know. I'm going to take Wisconsin just because I think they're the better team. I think they can win by a touchdown or more.
Yeah.
Not winning since Halloween. I mean, winning is contagious, but so is losing.
Absolutely.
So I'll take Wisconsin.
Okay. Let's take a break, and we'll be back with the rest of the picks right after this. Okay, next one up, Armed Forces Bowl, Tulsa, 2.5-point favorite against Mississippi State. Well, I don't like what Mississippi State's done all year. Yeah. Tulsa's the real deal. That game with Cincinnati came, pretty much down the wire. Tulsa, I just think, is a great football team. I really do. I think they easily cover 2.5. I mean, I just don't. Yeah. I know it's SEC versus American Conference, but in this case, you got a top-tier American team against this year an SEC bottom dweller, and I just think the American Conference team is better.
Yeah, this one's a weird one. And I think it's going to take Mississippi State a few years to get Mike Leach the athletes that he wants. There's a way that he wants his defense to be played. There's a way he wants his offense to be played, and I think it's going to take a while to get, just like going from Georgia Tech going from a triple option to a spread. Yep. And now this is going to an air raid attack coming out of what they just came out of playing. A player to watch, Zaven Collins from Tulsa, linebacker. I think he'll be fun to watch in this game. Man, it's crazy to think that you would pick an American Athletic Conference team against an SEC team anytime. I mean, even if it's Vanderbilt or Tennessee, Arkansas this year.
Hey, I'll tell you what, the American Conference is no slouch. I mean, they are competitive, the top half.
Yeah, but is Mississippi State, one of those, they're 3-7 at this point, and it wouldn't be a COVID year if a 3-7 team didn't get into a bowl.
Yeah.
But man, Tulsa being favored by 2 just makes me think, go Tulsa.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so.
What do you got to lose here?
Yeah. I could see them winning by 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'll take Tulsa.
Okay. Next one's the Arizona Bowl, Ball State against San Jose State. San Jose State put it to Boise State in that Mountain West Conference Championship game. So now you have 2 pretty powerful, high-power offenses going against each other. Ball State, no slouch this year. They kind of surprised me in the MAC championship game.
Yeah. But so did San Jose State.
Yeah, they did.
Nick Starkel said that he did everything that I said he would do in that show.
Yeah. I
can't remember if I picked them, but I gave every reason to pick them in that game, and maybe I went away from it because they played Boise State.
Boise State.
Yeah, I think we both took Boise State in that, and I gave every reason to pick San Jose State.
You did. Yeah.
So I'm going to go with San Jose State. They have a chance to have a perfect season here. I think Nick Starkel maybe has some draft consideration, and they were 6-1 against the spread this season. So I don't know. I see San Jose State being better.
I see these 2 teams matching up really well, especially the offenses, and I see it staying close. San Jose State probably ekes out the win here, but to me, 9.5 is too much in this game. I think it can stay close.
I see a 10-point game. I see maybe 31-21.
Okay, I'm going to take Ball State in this one.
Okay.
All right, next game is
and you'll lose.
Liberty Bowl. West Virginia 7-point favorite against Army. This was originally going to be West Virginia versus Tennessee, which I said was the Hillbilly Bowl. Not so much anymore. So Army slides in there. And
hey, before anybody gets offended by that, I'm from Oklahoma. He's from
I'm
Ohio.
from Southern Ohio. I grew up.
We both seen Hillbilly.
Yeah, it's not meant to be an insult at all.
They live just down the street. So.
Yeah, so it's not an insult at all. But in this matchup, West Virginia's favored by 7. Army is the home team, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
The thing is here is I think 7's too high of a spread because West Virginia has been suspect at times. They haven't really, just when you think they're going to be good and dominate, they don't. And then with Army, especially with their offense, they control the ball so much.
Yeah.
And West Virginia has not played a team that has an offense like Army this year. This will be a first, and I know they've had a few extra weeks to prepare, but it's just one of those deals where you just can't really prepare for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to see just real quick what, because I don't have it pulled up, but I'd like to see what.
I think Army's 7-2 or 8-2.
Well, no, I want to see how West Virginia did against the run this year. Bear with me here. There it is. Okay, so they.
But I think even their stats against the run, it's different compared to stats against an option run.
Right,
it's
that's
just
true.
different. So yeah. I don't.
They were they allowed 126.2 yards on the ground per game and 171. Obviously, Army's not going to throw the ball around a whole bunch.
Right.
They were 9-2. Army was, and West Virginia was 5-4. Army's coming off a 3-game winning streak against Georgia Southern, Navy, Air Force.
I like Army in this one.
They got beat by Tulane. It's a 7-point spread.
Yep. I'm going to take Army.
I'm going to stick with West Virginia. I had them originally with just a gut pick. I'm going to stick with them.
Okay.
I do think, Army will control the ball, but, 7 points that's not out of the realm of being able to just have a couple more possessions and maybe even 10 10 points.
I think Army has an actual shot at winning the game. That's why I'm taking Army.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll take West Virginia.
All right. The next one is the Texas Bowl. Arkansas against TCU. TCU is a 5-point favorite. I like Arkansas in this. TCU has kind of been up and down at times this year. They played really well when you don't expect them to, but then they played really bad when you thought they might play well. Arkansas has at least been consistent.
Yeah.
And they've been in almost every game they've played.
Well, now hold your hat on that one because they closed the season on a 4-game losing streak. They also were 7-3 to end the season, but at one point they were like 6-0 against the spread. Yeah. So in those 4 games that they lost,
they were 1-3.
Yeah, they didn't cover a whole lot. So they were one of my teams that had progressed the most or just gotten better over time. And with Sam Pittman, I've been a big fan of his this year.
I just think
they just took a skid there somewhere.
Yeah.
But
the teams they played, I mean,
they did play Alabama and they had some really tough games, but TCU's no slouch either. They're Gary Patterson always has them ready to play. And this is a throwback to the Southwest Conference days. Yeah. So should be a fun matchup.
Who you got?
I'm going to take TCU. I'll take them to cover the 5. Okay. With Arkansas just on their skid right now, I know the last 3 years or so, Big 12 has not performed very well in bowl season. I mean, they haven't as of late, but.
Hey, how awesome is it to have Arkansas in the bowl game, though?
That's pretty cool.
I mean, with the way they've been the past few years. So, hey, I'm big on that.
To me, they're one of the most improved programs in the country right now. Yeah. And I hope, once everything gets back to normal, that their fans start going to games because, that before COVID, that stadium was just decimated. Yeah. I mean, they love their college there in Fayetteville, and they just want them to be good so bad,
Okay.
So
well, I'm with you, Arkansas.
I'm sorry. I apologize because that's all my mom's side of the family's from Arkansas. Yep. Benton and Little Rock, and my sister lived in Sherwood there for a little bit, but I got to take TCU.
All right, next one, Citrus Bowl. Auburn against Northwestern. Northwestern actually a favorite here by 3.5. Northwestern coming off just a poor offensive performance against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. They've been really solid on defense all year long. Yeah. And offense is where they've struggled a little bit, but Northwestern's no slouch of a team. But I think Auburn might be just a little bit too much for them, just like Ohio State was. I think there's a little bit of a talent issue there and a talent gap. Even though Auburn hasn't been playing well, Bo Nix hasn't been playing well, I just think Auburn is a better team here, and I think they might win by 1 point. But with Northwestern being the favorite, I got to take Auburn.
But Auburn, they're kind of in a holding pattern right now because they fired their coach.
Right, they did. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Usually the team, kind of circles around an assistant coach that they like. I mean, so much so to where sometimes that interim gets hired if the
That's what happened to Ed Orgeron at LSU.
Yeah.
And he won a national championship.
And then at Ole Miss, that same thing happened with their previous coach before Lane Kiffin. I forget his name. But,
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I like Auburn in this. I just do.
Yeah, I think Northwestern was the beneficiary of an easier schedule there at the beginning of the season. Yeah. I think that's why they won a few games in a row
and Wisconsin losing like unexpectedly in some of their games because they were the front runner, the favorite in the West.
Yeah, because their schedule at the beginning of the year was they had Maryland, they had Iowa, who actually turned out to be pretty good, but they beat Iowa 21-20. They beat Nebraska, Purdue, Wisconsin.
They lost to Michigan State.
Yeah, they lost to Michigan State. They didn't play the game against Minnesota. They beat Illinois and then lost 22-10 there against Ohio State.
Yeah. Which is a respectable showing.
Yeah. It's just, though, that any ranked team that Auburn has played, they haven't done very well. Yeah. I mean, they lost to Texas A&M, lost to Alabama. They did beat Kentucky, but they lost to Georgia too.
Yeah.
So any ranked opponent, and I know when you cross conferences, it gets a little bit dicier there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take Northwestern. I just think losing your coach, and what are we going to do? Are they going to have players that are just opt out and head to the draft? And
Yep.
So I'm going to take Northwestern.
All right, next one, Gator Bowl, NC State versus Kentucky. Kentucky is a 2.5-point favorite. I like NC State. I just am not big on Kentucky.
Yeah.
Just not. I mean, there's not much I can say about that other than that. NC State, at times when I've watched them, have looked pretty good. Kentucky can't throw the ball. That's the bottom line. They don't have much offense at all. So, they would be relying on their defense to win this game for them, and I don't think that they can do it.
Yeah. Kentucky was 1-4 against the spread against ranked teams this season, and they often struggled on offense. And NC State closed the season on a 4-game win streak. So it should be a tight game, but I think NC State wins.
Okay. Next one is the Outback Bowl, Ole Miss against Indiana. Indiana is a 6.5-point favorite. Not going against Indiana. I've stuck with them all year long. They're for real. Their backup quarterback, his name is slipping my mind, but
Jack Tuttle.
Tuttle, yes, Tuttle's a real deal. They don't really miss a step with Penix Jr. going out and him coming in. I think Lane Kiffin is just kind of like all over the place, and he certainly has no defense at Ole Miss. He's going to, just like Leach, it's going to take him a couple years really to get Ole Miss where they want to be.
Yeah.
Indiana's they're really good. They're really good.
Yeah.
They should have been in the Big Ten championship game. They weren't, but they should have been, and I think they would have beat Northwestern. I think they easily handle Ole Miss, so I'm going to take Indiana covering.
Yeah, they definitely were robbed of a New Year's Six bowl. But I think their defense will definitely be tested against Lane Kiffin's offense. I mean, they've shown some excitement from their offense this year. But I do think that Indiana is just too much for Ole Miss. I think that they're a more complete team. They're not just a one-trick pony like I think that Ole Miss is. And I just think that I think that they go out and show, Indiana shows that they're a different team and they're better than, what the committee gave them credit for. So, and even the Big Ten. So I'll take Indiana.
Okay. All right, next game is Oregon against Iowa State in the Fiesta Bowl. Iowa State a 4.5-point favorite. Oregon just slipped in there by happen chance. I mean, to win the Pac-12 championship game because they're in it because Washington has COVID.
Yeah.
And then they win the Pac-12 championship team, or they get in as a 3-2 team, and then they win. Now they're in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
Iowa State will have a little bit of problem with Oregon's running game, but Iowa State's a much better football team, much better, more deserving football team, and I think Iowa State easily covers 4.5.
Yeah, they definitely had. Oregon definitely had 2 losses that you kind of scratch your head at. Yeah. One being Oregon State, and then the other, what was the other loss they had?
They had 2 back-to-back. It was Oregon State, and then they lost the following week to...
Who was that? That was Cal. Yeah, Cal. They lost to Cal. So, but then they beat USC in the championship game. Iowa State looked really, really good in Big 12 play. They beat Oklahoma the first time around, but then Oklahoma was just a different team when they came back to play them in the Big 12 championship. And you can't take away the fact that Oklahoma has been there year after year after year. I mean, it says a lot to now win 5 in a row, or 6 in a row, actually. Yeah. There's something to be said about the experience that those teams that have gotten in there compared to one that has never been there before. So I don't hold that against Iowa State that much. Yeah. I think that these are 2 evenly matched teams. And at this point, at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't have said it, but I think you got to give the edge defensively to Iowa State.
Yeah, for sure. Oregon's defense hasn't been anything like what we thought it was going to be in the preseason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I think that they will have a lot of players drafted out of that defense compared to Iowa State, who may not have as many. But I think Brock Brock Purdy comes out and has a good showing, and I think Iowa State. I think they win that convincingly, at least by 7 to 10. I'd say.
Yep. Okay. Next one is Orange Bowl, Texas A&M, 7-point favorite against North Carolina. I mean, honestly, after the showing the Tar Heels had in their last game, Texas A&M, to me, I know they're ranked 5th. I don't think they're that good. I mean, I honestly think Cincinnati at 8 is better than Texas A&M. That's just my thought. And I think this is one where, Kellen Mond's been tweeting. He's been, talking a little bit of trash about they should be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what we see happen most of the time? Coastal Carolina did that too.
Yeah.
They should be in the playoffs. We won Alabama, and then they lost to Liberty.
Yeah.
I just think that trash talking, like we should be in the playoffs, all this and that, I think the Tar Heels just come up from behind and just bite them right on the butt and take them down. So I'm going to take North Carolina.
Yeah, Mac Brown gets to go face off against an old
Jimbo,
foe.
yep.
Well, Texas A&M, because he had a ton of experience coaching against Texas A&M when he was the coach at Texas. But North Carolina, I believe their running back, Michael Carter, I believe he is opting out for the NFL draft. I think I saw that somewhere. If you know, let us know down in the comments. But I think, and it may be both of their running backs opting out.
So you like A&M?
I'm trying to see. Just looking up his name. Michael Carter won't return to USC for 2021. And Javonte Williams. I think both of them opted out, but I could be wrong. Let me know it down in the comments if you. So Michael Carter and De'Ami Brown both announced that they won't return next season and will enter the draft, but Carter will not play in the Orange Bowl. So that's huge. I mean, he's one of their, and Javonte Williams opts out too. So that's both of your top players on offense opting out is huge. If they were playing, I would say North Carolina, but I think that A&M does have a good running game as well with Isaiah Spiller, and I think that Kellen Mond has enough there to trade licks with Sam Howell. So I wanted to take North Carolina just because I think with the experience of coaching against the Aggies, but I think losing two guys like that on offense is just too much to come back from.
Okay, last one before the playoffs. Peach Bowl, Georgia, 7-point favorite against number 8 Cincinnati. Bearcats. Bearcats all day long. They're just gonna hammer the Bulldogs into the ground. They're not gonna blow them out, but Cincinnati's gonna come out with the win, and they're gonna prove, hey, they were deserving. And I truly believe Cincinnati should have been in the playoffs. That's my opinion, and I think they'll come out and prove it against Georgia.
You think so?
Yep.
See, I don't know if they win, but I think they could keep it a tight game.
Cincinnati is a better team than Notre Dame. I'll just say that for sure. Absolutely, they're a better team.
But
than
JT Daniels, after coming in, averaged he averaged 10.4 yards per attempt. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. This is another tough one because you don't know. You just don't know with Cincinnati. How are they going to fare against a Power 5 team? Are they going to be one of the surprises of the bowl season?
Yep.
Georgia is not as good, I don't think, as the couple of years previous. I do think they have a really good defense.
You got Georgia. I know you do.
I don't know. It's 7 points. I could see this game being a 4-point game. I'll take Cincinnati just because it's a 7-point game. But I think Georgia wins it. I do.
Okay.
But I don't think that they cover. I think it's a tight game. Maybe a field goal wins it in the end.
Cincinnati on the money line. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the playoffs. So the first one is the Rose Bowl being played in Texas because the Rose Bowl, despite asking the state of California to allow at least friends and family of players, they said absolutely not. So they've moved it now to Arlington. Notre Dame against Alabama. Alabama, 19.5-point favorite. Guys, I don't have much to say about this. Notre Dame shouldn't even be in the playoffs. I don't think they're that good, in my opinion. Alabama is going to steamroll them and steamroll them big because Notre Dame's defense is not going to be able to stop that offense. 19.5 is low, in my opinion. It could be 24-25. Roll Tide.
Yeah, I'm going to take Notre Dame in the points. Alabama will have to do something. They lost their center, Landon Dickerson. I think they could win. I think they could win by 14, 15, 16, 17 points, Yeah. I don't know. I think they're going to want to have a lot better showing than they had in the ACC championship game. They got in. They got into the playoffs. It's done.
Yeah.
Nothing we're going to say is going to change that.
That first game against Clemson when they didn't have Trevor Lawrence, forget it. I mean, that win to me doesn't even count. It doesn't even matter. And with Clemson having Trevor Lawrence, you saw what they did to Notre Dame. They embarrassed them.
Yeah.
Alabama is better than Clemson. Alabama is the number one team in the country. They have the best offense in the country. If Notre Dame couldn't hang closer than that to Clemson, they are not going to hang with Alabama. So I think this is a snooze fest. This is going to be an extremely boring semifinal game that nobody's going to want to really watch, which I'm glad it's the first game.
Yeah.
So, I think this one's over. I think it's over at halftime, honestly. I don't think Notre Dame has a chance.
Yeah. Their defense is pretty good. I'll take
Stay with Notre Dame.
I'll take Notre Dame. Like I said, I think Alabama will win big, but big to me is 14 to 21 points. They could win by 21, and that would mean that they won the pig. But I don't know. I think they have a better showing than they did. Even against they lost by 24 to Clemson. I don't know. I was going to say this is the playoffs, but last year LSU just completely stomped Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'll go against you on that.
Okay. Second semifinal is the Sugar Bowl, Ohio State against Clemson. The Buckeyes, I don't know. Clemson's a 7.5-point favorite. I'm a Buckeye fan, but to be honest with you, their defense has been unimpressive all year long, the Buckeyes' defense. The way Clemson's on a roll right now, and, Ohio State's offense, they only put up 22 against Northwestern, who has a good defense. But lately, Justin Fields, he threw like 2 interceptions and no touchdowns in that game against Northwestern. He struggled against Indiana. He has not been this Heisman quarterback we thought he was going to be this year. He struggled. Thankfully, Trey Sermon has come on.
Yeah.
And without Trey Sermon's performance in the Big Ten championship game, Ohio State probably doesn't win that game. So, to me, I hate to say it, but Clemson's going to come out and they're going to win by 15 or more. I just don't think Ohio State is going to be able to hang because Trevor Lawrence is going to throw all over that Buckeye secondary. They are not in sync this year. They're not playing that well. And I like Clemson's offensive line matched up against Ohio State's defensive line. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have plenty of time, and you give him time, he's going to pick them apart.
It's weird to me that the secondary for Ohio State isn't what they've been because they're all everything. Defensive back coach Kerry Coombs is back.
I know, and everybody thought that meant here we go back again.
And so it leads me to believe that Alex Grinch maybe wasn't the entire problem. And I know you have a lot of changeover on the defensive staff. Greg Schiano being gone, but Kerry Coombs was only gone a year. A lot of these defensive backs are guys that he recruited.
No, he was gone for a couple years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he went to the Titans as.
Okay, I thought it was just a year, but
no, he's been gone a little while. But.
Okay, but even so, some of these guys were probably the way they worked their way up the ranks there.
Yeah.
Were probably guys that he recruited originally when they were young. So I could see this being close. I think that the matchup between Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, this is not the first time that they've battled.
Right.
Last
year
but they came up and through the high school the rankings. They battled together, you know, in high school to try to see who would become the number one prospect. And and in some cases it was Justin Fields. In other cases it was Trevor Lawrence. So I think that he's going to want to play his A game. Justin Fields being and you know, I could easily see Ohio State getting an early lead, but then, you know, Clemson coming back after halftime and just, you know, them kind of trading licks throughout the third and fourth quarter. So I'm going to take Ohio State.
I hope you're right.
I think it's a close game.
I hope you're right.
I think you're being too hard on your Buckeyes there.
You know,
There's a reason they made it into the playoffs. You know, anybody could look at that team and see that they were really good. I know the wins, you know, you can argue all day that they only had this many wins, but their league's better than USC, I think, when comparing teams that, you know, going into their conference championship having 5 wins. So,
I think it's Alabama, Clemson in the championship. That's what I think. So,
I think that's probably how it's going to shake out, and we're going to have yet another year where Alabama and Clemson are meeting. But I think it's a closer game.
Yep. Okay. That's it for our picks for the major bowl games and the playoffs. We've got one more show left, and that's the pick to break down and pick the national championship game. We'll see how we did. It's this week. I think it's Friday's New Year's Day, right? Friday, yeah. Yes, Friday's New Year's.
Because it's a week after Christmas.
Yeah. So Friday night is the games. Thank you guys for sticking with us all season long.
Well, some of the, like Oklahoma's Cotton Bowl game is on Wednesday.
Yeah. And normally, I think Cotton Bowl is normally on New Year's Day, but
they've kind of spread them out.
Well, since they moved it to Arlington, the Rose Bowl, like they can't play the same day, so they had. But anyway, the Oklahoma State Miami game is tonight because you're watching this on Tuesday, and then Friday, and then next we'll see by Sunday we'll know who's in. Yeah. So, okay, that's it. Thanks for watching all year long. We appreciate all of our fans. We appreciate you tuning in. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and then always leave a comment. We got one more show left, so let's see what happens. Take care. We'll see you next time.